The shotgun blast shattered the screen door before the words even left his father's mouth, splintering wood like brittle bones under the Texas sun. "Get out, you filthy liar. Ain't no son of mine." Gabriel froze on the porch, 12 years old and clutching his backpack like a shield, the echo of the shot still ringing in his ears as neighbors' curtains twitched. In that instant, the boy who dreamed of fireflies and baseball fields became a ghost in his own hometown, cast into the endless asphalt veins of America, with nothing but a stolen glance at the stars to guide him. Gabriel's sneakers crunched over the gravel shoulder of I-20 as the sun dipped low, painting the West Texas horizon in blood-orange streaks that mocked the ache in his chest. He'd hitched a ride from a trucker who smelled like diesel and regret, dropping him off just outside Abilene with a gruff, "Good luck, kid. World's a meat grinder." The man's parting words hung heavy, but Gabriel didn't cry. Not yet. He couldn't afford the salt in his eyes blurring the faded map in his backpack, the one torn from his mother's old atlas, pointing north like a promise to Chicago, somewhere big enough to swallow a secret hole. Nights blurred into days under the relentless sky. He slept in culverts when thunderheads rolled in, their rumbles drowning out the phantom shouts from home. "Faggot! Devil's spawn!" His father's Bible had thumped against the kitchen table like a gavel, verses twisted into weapons after Gabriel's innocent confession to a school counselor, whispered in a moment of terror after a bully's taunt. The family photo on the mantel, Mom, Dad, him grinning gap-toothed at 6, now felt like a forgery, a lie exposed by the shotgun's roar. He scavenged gas station hot dogs from overflowing trash bins, trading smiles for quarters from pitying clerks who averted their eyes. "Runaway?" one asked in Oklahoma, sliding him a candy bar. Gabriel nodded, throat too raw for words, and bolted before questions could chain him down. By the time he crossed into Kansas, the flatlands had worn him thin. His jeans frayed at the hems, skin burned to leather under the prairie wind. He hopped freights when he could, heart pounding in the rhythmic clack of wheels on rails, the boxcar's shadows hiding him from yard dogs and bulls. Stories from other hobos filtered in like campfire smoke. Tales of soup kitchens in St. Louis, flop houses in Springfield, the underground networks that kept kids like him breathing. But trust was a luxury Gabriel couldn't buy. He'd learned that quick, after a group of older teens in a Wichita alley stripped him of his backpack and left him shivering, curled like a question mark against chain link. Chicago hit him like a fever dream on a Greyhound he'd scraped pennies for, the bus wheezing into the South Side station under a sky choked with steel clouds. The city pulsed with a chaos that both terrified and thrilled him. Horns blaring like angry geese, sidewalks teeming with faces from every corner of the globe, the air thick with the sizzle of street vendors and the undercurrent of something unspoken, electric. At 14 now, 2 years of road dust caking his bones, Gabriel slipped into the shadows of the L tracks, claiming a cardboard nest in an abandoned lot off Halstead. The wind off Lake Michigan carried whispers of possibility. Gay bars with neon promises, support groups in church basements, a world where different might mean welcome instead of weird. Survival became a ritual. Mornings meant panhandling near the Bean, his sign scrawled in chalk, "Lost my way, help a kid find north." Tourists tossed coins with sympathetic smiles, mistaking him for a performance artist. Afternoons, he volunteered at a shelter kitchen, scrubbing pots for a hot meal and the illusion of belonging. Nights were for the library, burrowing into books about boys who loved boys. Hemingway's Stoic Wanderers, Baldwin's Raw Confessions, words that wrapped around his loneliness like a threadbare quilt. He dreamed in fragments, a hand not raised in anger, eyes that saw him whole, not broken. But the streets had teeth. Winter clawed in early that year, a brutal wind whipping off the lake that turned urine to ice in alley gutters. Gabriel huddled in doorways, breath fogging like ghosts, watching families bundled against the cold, their laughter a knife twist. He'd spot other runaways, kids with haunted eyes and track marks, forming fragile packs that dissolved at the first betrayal. One, a wiry boy named Jax from Detroit, shared smokes and stories for a week, teaching Gabriel how to boost apples from corner stores without tripping alarms. "We're ghosts," "Gabe," Jax said one frostbitten dawn, flicking ash into the snow. "But ghosts can haunt back." Then Jax vanished with the last of their pooled cash, leaving Gabriel to wonder if trust was just another word for fool's gold. Spring thawed the ice but not the ache. Gabriel turned 16 in a blur of odd jobs. Washing dishes at a diner, bagging groceries at a bodega. Enough to rent a bunk in a youth hostel that smelled of bleach and broken dreams. He cut his hair short, bought second-hand flannels from thrift shops, trying to look like the normal boys in the magazines. The ones with easy grins and futures mapped out. But mirrors lied. His reflection stared back with eyes too old for his face, carrying the weight of shotgun echoes and empty highways. He flirted with danger, lingering outside clubs on Boys Town's Halsted Strip, the rainbow flags fluttering like taunts. Once, he slipped inside on a dare from a hostile mate, the bass thumping through his ribs as men danced with abandon. A stranger's hand brushed his shoulder, warm, intentional, and Gabriel bolted, heart hammering, the taste of possibility souring to fear. It was a muggy July evening, the air heavy with the promise of storms, when Daniel first appeared. Gabriel was slumped on a bench in Grant Park, sketching fireflies in a notebook pilfered from the library, the pencil strokes frantic against the page. The veteran, tall, broad-shouldered, with salt and pepper hair cropped military short and a limp that spoke of old wounds, dropped onto the bench uninvited, offering a paper bag greasy with the scent of fries. "You look like you could use this more than me," Daniel said, voice rough as gravel but kind. No pity in it. Gabriel eyed the bag, then the man. Faded army jacket patched at the elbows, dog tags glinting under his collar, eyes blue as faded denim, seeing too much. Gabriel snatched the food, mumbling thanks, but Daniel didn't leave. He sat there, quiet as the lake lapping nearby, until the silence stretched thin. "Name's Daniel, ex-Marine, Iraq 03 to 07. Lost a leg to an IED, well, part of it anyway." He tapped his prosthetic with a wry smile. Gabriel glanced down, saw the subtle hitch in the fabric of his jeans. "I'm Gabe," he replied, voice cracking like it hadn't since Texas. Daniel nodded, no questions, just a shared fry and a story about sandstorms that buried men alive. For the first time in years, Gabriel felt seen, not as a stray, but as a survivor. As thunder grumbled distant, Daniel stood. "Rain's coming. Got a couch if you need it. No strings." Gabriel hesitated, the old instinct screaming trap, but those eyes held steady. He followed, the notebook clutched tight, stepping into a future he couldn't yet name. Daniel's apartment was a third-floor walk-up in Wicker Park, the kind of place where the radiator clanged like Morse code and the walls whispered neighbors' arguments through thin plaster. It smelled of strong coffee and motor oil, shelves crammed with dog-eared paperbacks, Vonnegut, Kerouac, and a turntable spinning Springsteen vinyls that filled the space with gravelly anthems of open roads. Gabriel paused in the doorway, backpack slung over one shoulder, the weight of intrusion heavy as the storm breaking outside. "It's no palace," Daniel said, flipping on a lamp that cast warm pools of light. "But it's dry. Kitchen's that way, help yourself." Gabriel nodded, mute, shedding his jacket like snakeskin. The couch was lumpy, draped in an Afghan crocheted with marine colors, and Daniel tossed him a pillow without fanfare. "I'll crash in the recliner. Been worse spots in Fallujah." That night, as rain lashed the windows like accusations, Gabriel lay awake, tracing the ceiling cracks, listening to Daniel's steady breaths from across the room. The man moved like a shadow in the dark, efficient, unhurried, brewing coffee at dawn, leaving a mug steaming on the side table with a note. "Black, 2 sugars? Figure it out." No sermons, no interrogations, just space to breathe. Days stretched into weeks, a fragile rhythm forming. Daniel worked days at a VA auto shop, wrenching on beat-up sedans for vets who couldn't afford the bills, his hands scarred and sure. Evenings, he'd grill burgers on the fire escape, the sizzle mingling with stories pulled from him like reluctant confessions. Patrols in Baghdad heat that melted boots to soles, the brother-in-arms lost to sniper fire, the letters home that grew shorter each tour. "War's a thief," he'd say, flipping patties, eyes distant. Takes pieces you don't get back. Gabriel listened, chin on knees, the notebook open but untouched. He shared scraps in return. Fireflies in Texas jars, the shotgun's echo, words tumbling out haltingly, met not with shock but a quiet nod. Family's supposed to be fortress, not battlefield, Daniel murmured once, voice thick. Gabriel enrolled in night school at a community college, GED in hand from shelter tutors. His mind hungry for algebra and lit classes that dissected Whitman like old friends. Daniel drove him there in a '92 Ford pickup, radio tuned to WBZ Jazz, the city lights blurring past like shooting stars. "You're sharp, kid," Daniel said after dropping him off one drizzly October night. "Don't let the world dull you." Gabriel clutched his books, warmth blooming unfamiliar in his chest. At the shop, he started shadowing Daniel on weekends, handing tools, learning carburetors, the grease under his nails a badge of belonging. Laughter crept in, rare and rusty. Daniel's deadpan jokes about boot camp chow, Gabriel's impressions of pompous professors. For the first time, home wasn't a place he'd fled. It was this, a man who saw his scars and stayed. Winter returned softer that year, snow blanketing the alleys in hush. They decorated the fire escape with thrift store lights, Daniel stringing them with a soldier's precision while Gabriel blasted Mariah Carey from a borrowed boombox. His one rebellion against the classic rock canon. "This is torture," Daniel groaned, but his grin betrayed him, eyes crinkling at the corners. Gabriel caught himself staring then. The way Daniel's profile caught the glow, broad shoulders unbowed by the cold. Heat flushed his cheeks, he blamed the mulled cider. Puberty had ambushed him on the streets, confusing dreams tangling with survival's grind. But here, in this borrowed safety, feelings stirred like embers under ash. Thanksgiving loomed, the city swelling with pilgrims and plenty. Daniel invited a ragtag crew from the VA, grizzled mechanics with missing fingers, a nurse named Rita who chain-smoked menthols and called bullshit on war tales. Gabriel hovered at the edges, carving turkey with a borrowed knife, until Rita pulled him into her orbit. "You got stories in those eyes, honey," she said, passing pie. "Spill." He did, haltingly, the expulsion, the rails, drawing nods and curses from the table. Daniel watched, silent, pride flickering like the candles. Later, washing dishes side by side, suds bubbling between them, Daniel's hand brushed Gabriel's under the faucet. Accidental, electric. Neither pulled away. "Your family now," Daniel said softly, voice a anchor. Gabriel's throat tightened. He nodded, water dripping like unshed tears. Spring unfurled in green bursts, cherry blossoms dusting the sidewalks like confetti. Gabriel turned 18 in April, legal now, the world tilting toward possibility. Daniel marked it with a cake from the Polish bakery. Chocolate layered, lopsided from amateur icing, and a gift. A leather-bound journal, pages crisp as new snow. "For the words you ain't said yet," Daniel rumbled, avoiding his eyes. Inside, Gabriel found a note. To the kid who outran the storm. Proud. That night, they walked the lakefront. Wind whipping off the water. Gabriel's laughter free for the first time. He bumped Daniel's shoulder, playful, and the man steadied him, arm lingering. The touch lingered too, a question unspoken. But shadows crept in with the warmth. Daniel's limp worsened on rainy days. Nightmares pulling guttural shouts from his sleep. Contact! Flank left, leaving him drenched and hollow-eyed at dawn. Gabriel learned to brew coffee strong, to sit silent until the storm passed. One night, after a particularly vicious episode, Daniel cracked open a lockbox under the bed. Metals tarnished, photos of young faces grinning in desert fatigues. A letter from a mother thanking him for her son's dog tags returned. "He was 21, Daniel whispered, tracing the ink. "I should have." Gabriel covered his hand, steady. "You survived. That's enough." Daniel's gaze met his, raw, and something shifted, gratitude deepening to need. The air between them charged like pre-thunder hush. Summer baked the city, asphalt shimmering, fire hydrants gushing relief for kids in the streets. Gabriel landed a part-time gig at a bookstore in Andersonville, shelving Queer Lit and recommending Audre Lorde to curious browsers. Daniel surprised him with tickets to a Cubs game at Wrigley, the crack of bats and roar of crowds a symphony of normalcy. In the bleachers, beers sweating in hand, Gabriel's first legal sip, Daniel leaned close over the seventh-inning stretch. "Never thought I'd have this," he said, voice low under the cheers. "A buddy to root with." Gabriel's pulse raced. Buddy felt like half the truth, as fireworks burst post-win, painting the sky in reds and golds. Gabriel turned, words bubbling. "More than that, Dan." Daniel's eyes searched his, then softened. Their hands found each other in the crowd, fingers lacing tentative, a bridge over the chasm of years. Yet doubt gnawed. Gabriel caught glimpses of Daniel on the phone. Voice clipped, "Yeah, Ma, I'm fine. No, not seeing anyone." Hanging up with a sigh that echoed Gabriel's own ghosts. And in the shop, whispers from the crew. "Sarge's got that look again, haunted." Gabriel pushed it down, focusing on the journal's pages filling with poems of stolen touches, fireflies in urban night. But the past, like Lake Michigan's fog, rolled in unbidden. A letter arrived one sticky August morning, postmarked Texas. His mother's script, shaky. "Forgive," pleaded. Gabriel burned it in the sink, flames licking blue, Daniel watching wordless from the door. Fall painted wicker park in amber and rust, leaves crunching underfoot like fragile memories as Gabriel and Daniel's world deepened into something unspoken yet undeniable. Mornings started with shared coffee on the fire escape, mugs steaming against the chill, Daniel's knee brushing Gabriel's as they watched the city stir. Gabriel's sketches evolved. No longer solitary fireflies, but pairs dancing in jars, wings brushing tentative. At the bookstore, he devoured sections on love's quiet revolutions, Whitman's calamus root intimacies, the raw ache in Arundhati Roy's lines. Words became his compass, mapping the terrain of his heart. Daniel noticed the shift, the way Gabriel's gaze lingered over breakfast comics, tracing panels with a finger that trembled slight. One crisp October Saturday, after a farmer's market haul of apples and cider, they wandered Lincoln Park Zoo, the air crisp with hay and animal musk. Daniel bought feed for the goats, his laugh booming as one nuzzled his palm. "Stubborn bastards, remind me of boot camp." Gabriel grinned, snapping a photo on a disposable camera Daniel had gifted. Click of shutter capturing the man unarmored, joy cracking his guarded shell. Later, under a canopy of turning maples, they sat on a bench, cider warming their hands. "You make this feel real," Daniel admitted, voice gravel soft. Gabriel's breath caught. He leaned in, forehead to shoulder. "It is real. Us." The kiss came that night, unhurried as autumn's descent. Rain pattered the window as they cleared dishes, Daniel drying, Gabriel washing, suds forgotten when hands met across the sink. Daniel turned, towel slipping, and cupped Gabriel's face. Thumbs rough against smooth skin, eyes asking permission in the lamplight. Gabriel rose on toes, closing the gap, lips meeting soft, exploratory. It tasted of cider tang and years unspoken, Daniel's arms enveloping like harbor walls, steady against the storm within. They broke apart breathless, foreheads pressed, Daniel's whisper fierce. "Didn't see this coming, but God, I want it." Gabriel nodded, tears pricking. Not from fear, but fullness. In bed that night, they held, bodies aligning like puzzle edges, sleep claiming them tangled, dreams kind for once. Love bloomed in quiet gestures. Daniel leaving wildflowers from corner bodegas on the pillow, Gabriel cooking spaghetti carbonara from a library cookbook, sauce splattering like laughter. They explored the city hand in hand now, no hiding in shadows. Navy Pier Ferris will spins at dusk, jazz at the green mill where Ellington's ghost lingered in smoke. Daniel opened up more, scars bared. The IED's flash that stole his lower leg and a chunk of his soul, the VA's red tape that left him limping through nightmares. "Thought I'd fade out here, just another vet on the margins," he confessed one night, prosthetic off, stump raw in the low light, Gabriel traced the edge-gentle lips to skin. You're my center now. But harmony harbored undercurrents. Gabriel's GED classes intensified, essays on identity pouring out like confessions. Professors praising his voice, raw and resonant. Acceptance letters trickled in. Community college scholarships for creative writing. Whispers of a future beyond Greece and shelves. Daniel beamed at the news, but shadows flickered in his eyes. Pride laced with something sharper, unspoken. His own past pressed. A family in Milwaukee, conservative stock, who viewed his discharge as failure. Visits dwindling to holiday cards stiff with obligation. They don't get it, he'd say, crumpling invitations. The war, the leg. Me. Gabriel soothed with touches, but doubt seeded. Was he tether or anchor? Thanksgiving redux brought the VA crew again. Rita eyeing their linked hands with a wink. About damn time, Sarge. Toasts rang out, to survival, to seconds chances. Gabriel's cheeks flushing under the table's warmth. But post-feast, Daniel's phone buzzed insistent. Mom. He stepped out, voice rising in the hall. No, Ma. It's not like that. He's a friend. Gabriel overheard, gut twisting. Friend? The word landed like a slap, echoing Texas porches. He retreated to the fire escape, city lights blurring through tears, until Daniel found him, pulling him close. They're stuck in their world. This us is ours. Apology in his kiss, fierce, but the crack lingered, hairline fracture in their foundation. Winter gripped tight, holidays a gauntlet. They strung lights early, Daniel hauling a Charlie Brown tree from the lot, ornaments mismatched like their histories. Gabriel's gift, a custom dog tag engraved to the man who caught my firefly. Daniel's eyes misted reading it, pulling Gabriel into a spin under the tinsel. New Year's Eve. They watched the ball drop on TV, champagne fizzing cheap, cheers mingling with church bells. To rewriting endings, Daniel toasted, clinking glasses. Their kiss at midnight stretched eternal, promises sealed in the tick of the clock. Spring semester started Gabriel's world expanding. Campus poetry slams where verses spilled like blood, peers with piercings and pronouns that normalized his own hidden edges. Daniel picked him up after one, truck idling curbside, but the ride home crackled tense. That kid, the one with the hair, looked cozy. Jealousy, raw and unbidden. Gabriel laughed it off, but inside, fear stirred. Possession's edge, love's shadow. Daniel apologized later, hands trembling as he fixed a loose shelf. War taught me to hold tight. Too tight sometimes. Gabriel forgave, but the incident echoed, a reminder that even anchors could drag. Summer hummed with heat waves, the apartment a sanctuary of fans and iced tea. Gabriel's internship at a local lit mag meant late nights typing submissions, Daniel waiting with foot rubs and takeout pho. They escaped to Michigan's dunes one weekend, sand hot underfoot, Lake Huron's waves crashing like applause. Skinny dipping at dusk, bodies buoyant, Daniel's laugh echoed free as they raced the tide. You're my horizon, he murmured, water beating on lashes. Gabriel believed it then, love a tide pulling them deeper. Yet fissures widened subtly. Daniel's nightmares intensified, therapy sessions at the VA yielding progress reports he hid. Gabriel found pills in the cabinet, sleep aids unlabeled, heart sinking. Talk to me, he pleaded one stormy night, thunder masking sobs. Daniel pulled away, jaw set. Can't burden you with ghosts. The words stung, rebuilding walls Gabriel thought dismantled. And the letter from Texas resurfaced in dreams, his mother's plea a siren call. He wrote back, anonymous P.O. box, words measured, healing, but not home. No reply came, but the act cracked him open, vulnerability spilling. By August's end, love's depth mirrored the city's underbelly, vibrant, vital, veined with risk. A block party on Damon pulsed with bands and brews, Daniel's arm around Gabriel's waist possessive under string lights. But Rita cornered him later, cigarette glowing. Sarge is all in, kid. But he's scared of losing you to that big world you're chasing. Gabriel nodded, resolve hardening. He'd bridge it, he vowed, unaware the chasm yawned wider. Autumn's palette deepened as Gabriel's 20th birthday approached, the air crisp with turning leaves and the faint rot of impending change. The Lit Mag internship had blossomed into a fellowship offer. Full ride to Columbia in New York, creative writing MFA, deadline looming like a guillotine. Gabriel stared at the letter nightly, fingers tracing the embossed seal, dreams of Manhattan lofts clashing with the warmth of Daniel's Afghan-draped couch. It's a chance, he told his reflection, but the mirror showed a boy torn. Roots shallow from years adrift, now entangled in soil he feared abandoning. Daniel sensed the storm brewing, his intuition honed by desert watches. Over pumpkin pie at a corner diner, his treat for the milestone, he broached it casual, fork midway to mouth. Heard you muttering New York in your sleep. Spill. Gabriel's appetite fled. He pushed the plate away, words tumbling like fallen acorns. Scholarship. Big one. But it's across the country. Silence stretched, thick as the diner's fogged windows. Daniel's jaw tightened, then softened. That's huge, Gabe. You deserve the stars. Pride warred with pain in his eyes, but Gabriel caught the flicker. Abandonment's echo, old wounds reopening. They navigated the news with deliberate grace. Campus visits planned, Daniel tagging along to the city that never sleeps. His limp less pronounced in the adrenaline of subways and skyscrapers. Mornings in a borrowed Airbnb, coffee from corner carts steaming as they wandered Central Park, leaves crunching underfoot. Bigger than Chicago, but same hustle, Daniel noted, tossing a frisbee to a pack of dogs, laughter easing the knot in Gabriel's chest. Evenings, they hit indie readings in village basements, Daniel nursing a beer while Gabriel soaked in the poet's fire. Verses of queer becoming, love's defiant bloom. Your turn soon, Daniel whispered post one, arms slung casual over shoulders. Gabriel leaned in, but the future loomed, a third wheel in their twosome. Back in Chicago, cracks spiderwebbed. Daniel threw himself into the shop, overtime wrenching engines till knuckles bled, coming home hollowed. Gabriel's journals filled frantic. Odes to Daniel's hands, elegies for what might be lost. One November night, snow flurrying early, they argued, first real fracture. Gabriel packing bookshelves, prepping for the move, Daniel's voice rising from the kitchen. You're running, just like I did, stateside after the blast, thinking distance heals. Gabriel whirled, hurt flaring. This is chasing, not fleeing. For us, for a life beyond scraping by. Daniel recoiled, words landing like shrapnel. And what if I can't follow? VA ties this leg. I'm anchored here. The door slammed, Gabriel fleeing to the fire escape, sobs muffled in mittened hands. Daniel joined him later, apology in hot cocoa and silence. But the rift lingered, love's foundation shifting sand. Holiday lights twinkled defiant as Christmas neared, the city a wonderland of ice rinks and Salvation Army bells. They salvaged it, tree trimmed with new ornaments. A tiny Eiffel Tower for Gabriel's dreams, a marine emblem for Daniel's steel. Gifts exchanged by firelight. Gabriel's a scrapbook of their year, photos captioned poetic. Daniel's a locket with a firefly pendant, engraved light in the jar. Wherever you go, Daniel murmured, clasping it around Gabriel's neck, kiss sealing the vow. But New Year's brought omens. A VA pal's wedding invite for Daniel in Milwaukee, family affair. Go, Gabriel urged, masking unease. Bridge that gap. The drive north was fraught, trucks slicing through snow-slicked interstates. Radio silence save static. Daniel's family home loomed. A sturdy ranch in the suburbs, flagpole stark, garage cluttered with fishing gear. His mother, Evelyn, hugged stiff, eyes appraising Gabriel trailing behind like an afterthought. The roommate, she said, smile thin. Dinner crackled tense. Father grilling tour details, siblings probing Daniel's single status, Gabriel shrinking under the table's glare. Whispers later in the guest room. They see me broken. War vet, no wife now this. Daniel's hand found his undercovers, but sleep evaded. Exclusions chill deeper than January wind. Return brought fragile mend. Therapy for Daniel ramped up, sessions yielding breakthroughs he shared halting, forgiving the ghosts, reclaiming pieces. Gabriel attended one, holding space as words poured. Love don't fix, but it fits the holes. Their intimacy deepened, touches reverent, nights a sanctuary of whispers and warmth. But the fellowship deadline pressed, acceptance confirmed, move date set for June. Gabriel's poems turned confessional, submitted to journals, one published in a queer-lit zine, Firefly Jar, Ode to Found Light. Daniel framed the tear sheet, pride beaming, but envy shadowed. Your words, my silence. Spring surged, daffodils defiant in planters, but undercurrents roiled. Rita warned over coffee, Sarge's cruise buzzing, old battle buddy coming back, stirring pots. Gabriel dismissed it, focusing on packing crates, but unease gnawed. One balmy April eve, Daniel late from the shop, phone dead, panic bloomed. Gabriel paced, visions of accidents, until the door creaked, Daniel swaying in, breath sour with whiskey, arms slung over a stranger. Tom, fellow Marine, face weathered, eyes sharp. Reunion, Daniel slurred, collapsing onto the couch. Tom smirked, hand lingering on Daniel's shoulder. Heard you got yourself a pet project here. The night unraveled. Tom's tales of Baghdad benders, Daniel laughing too loud, old patterns resurfacing. Gabriel retreated to the kitchen, heart pounding, until Tom's voice cut. Cute kid, Dan, but you? Still chasing ghosts. Daniel sobered next dawn, hangover etched, apologizing profuse. Old habits. Tom drags him out. But the seed planted, doubt, the specter of a life before, easier in its numbness. Gabriel forgave, but vigilance crept in, love's trust fraying thread by thread. May bloom torrid, graduation caps tossing in campus air as Gabriel walked the stage, diploma crisp, Daniel whooping loudest from the stands. Celebration dinner at their spot, the diner with the pie, turned confessional. I'll visit. Every break. Daniel nodded, but his grip tightened, knuckles white. Whispers of compromise surfaced. Transfer options, long-distance vows. Yet fate intervened cruel. A shop accident. Daniel wrenching a hoist that buckled, pinning his good leg. Fracture clean, but rehab looming months. Stay! He pleaded from the hospital bed, monitors beeping. Gabriel's resolve cracked. Fellowship deferred a year. Love's pull stronger than ambition's tug. Summer healed slow. Daniel's cast a cumbersome anchor. Gabriel nursing with soups and stories read aloud. Intimacy shifted tender. Baths drawn, limbs supported, vulnerability bared. You're my strength, Daniel whispered, fingers and hair. Gabriel believed, but resentment simmered subtle. Dreams deferred. City's call muted. Rita's counsel over beers. Love's a draft. Kid, dodges sometimes. Gabriel nodded, but the wind shifted ominous. Betrayal's scent on the breeze. June's heat wave baked the cast into a plaster oven. Daniel's temper fraying like old wiring as rehab sessions dragged him through gauntlets of pain and patience. The apartment shrank, walls closing with the scent of Benghazi and takeout containers. Gabriel's deferred dreams a silent specter in the corner. He worked double shifts at the bookstore to cover bills, shelving volumes on resilience while his own eroded. Poems stalled, journal pages blank as the calendar's empty slots. It's temporary, Daniel insisted, crutches thumping like metronomes of frustration. But Gabriel's smiles thinned, the firefly locket heavy around his neck. A talisman turned millstone. Tom's return amplified the strain, the old Marine crashing on their couch, just till he finds wheels. His presence a squatter's claim on their space. Stories flowed unchecked. Boozy wore yarns that painted Daniel heroic, unscarred. The duo inseparable in foxholes and bars. Gabriel hovered peripheral, fetching ashtrays. Laughter forced as Tom's arms slung casual over Daniel's shoulders. Remember that hooch in Mosul? Tom guffawed one sweltering night, bottles clinking. Daniel chuckled, eyes glazing nostalgic, but guilt flickered when he caught Gabriel's gaze. Ancient history, he'd say later, pulling him close. Yet the pullback lingered, Tom's shadow elongating their nights. Betrayal brewed subtle, seeds sown in confidences. One humid afternoon, Daniel hobbled to a VA support group, leaving Gabriel and Tom alone with the fans' futile whir. Tom cornered him in the kitchen, voice low, conspiratorial. Heard about the scholarship. Noble playing nurse but you got fire, kid. Don't let Sarge's anchor sink you. Gabriel bristled, words sharp. He's not sinking me. We're building. Tom smirked, cigarette dangling. Sure, but he bailed on me once. Post-blast, left for stateside glory. Loyalty's flexible in the core. The seed burrowed, doubts thorn pricking. Daniel's rehab progressed in fits, milestones marked by small victories. First steps unassisted, a grin splitting his beard. Gabriel cheered loudest, but weariness weighted his bones. Nights alone while Daniel crashed early. Tom snores from the couch a mocking chorus. Whispers from the shop crew filtered in Tom's debts, his charm a mask for mooching. Rita pulled Gabriel aside at a backyard barbecue, smoke curling from her menthol. That one's trouble, stirring old demons. Sarge sees you fading. Gabriel denied it, but mirrors betrayed. Eyes hollow, the boy who'd outrun storms now weathering one within. The fracture came in August's dog days, a Friday night thick with thunderheads. Daniel and Tom hit a dive bar for one. Returning past midnight, laughter slurred, Daniel leaning heavy on his buddy's arm. Gabriel waited on the fire escape, journal open to a half-formed verse on erosion. The door banged open below, voices rising. Tom's taunt. Come on, Dan. One shot for old times. Kid won't mind. Then Daniel's, liquid bold. He's more than that. But hell, why not? The clink of glasses pierced, followed by a hush, then Tom's murmur. Miss this, us against the world. Before the limp, the labels. Gabriel descended silent, heart a drum of betrayal's beat. In the kitchen, he found them. Daniel's head on Tom's shoulder, bottle midway, eyes meeting his in shock. Gabe? Daniel started, lurching up, but words failed, the scene damning. Intimacy's echo in a stranger's hold. How long? Gabriel's voice cracked, small as the boys on the porch years back. Tom slipped out, tail between legs, leaving the air toxic. Daniel reached, crutches clattering. Nothing booze talking. You're it always. But Gabriel recoiled, visions colliding. Shotgun blasts, empty rails. Now this, love's fortress crumbling to sand. The fight erupted, words shrapnel. Gabriel's accusations flying. Chasing ghosts while I chain myself here. Daniel's defenses raw. You deferred for me. I didn't ask. Pain layered, histories colliding. I gave you home. Daniel roared, voice breaking. And you're halfway out the door. Gabriel's retort landed lethal. Maybe I should have run sooner. Silence crashed, thunder echoing outside as Gabriel grabbed his backpack. Old instincts surging, storming into the night, rain sheeting cold. He wandered sodden streets, L tracks rumbling overhead like judgment, the locket burning against his chest. A diner offered refuge, coffee black as his thoughts, memories unspooling. Daniel's first fry shared, the kiss under maples, the Afghan's weave. Betrayal stung, but beneath pulsed deeper wound. Fear of his own unworthiness. The boy cast out, still whispering unlovable. Dawn crept gray, phone buzzing ignored. Daniel's texts, frantic. Come home, please. Gabriel stared at the firefly engraving, tears salting the screen. Return was tentative. Noon finding him at the apartment door, key turning slow. Daniel waited, cast propped, face haggard, eyes red-rimmed. Tom's duffel evicted by the curb. Gone. Told him to crawl back to whatever hole. Arms opened, no demands, just space. Gabriel collapsed into them, sobs racking, words spilling. Doubts, fears, the Texas echo amplified by Tom's intrusion. Daniel held, rocking gentle. I slipped, old crutch. But you're my north, Gabe. Won't lose you to my mess. Forgiveness flowed slow, a river carving stone. But they rebuilt. Therapy tandem now, Daniel's group welcoming Gabriel. Words weaving wounds closed. Fall semester loomed. Gabriel's deferral lifted. New York calling insistent. But the betrayal's scar tissue strengthened resolve. Compromise forged in late-night talks. I'll transfer credits, Gabriel proposed. Start local, build to Columbia. Together. Daniel's relief shown. Plans sketched on napkins. Weekend drives to Milwaukee for family men's. VA expansions eyeing New York chapters. Love emerged tempered. Steel forged. Touches reverent. Laughter reclaimed. Yet omens lingered. A letter arrived crisp, postmarked Texas. Not mothers but fathers, hand shaky, words halting. Heard you're making something. Proud, son. Doors cracked. Gabriel's hand trembled reading it. Daniel steady over his. Your call, he said soft. Gabriel burned it not, but folded careful, a bridge pondered. The city turned gold. Their steps synced, but thunder rumbled distant. Life's next storm brewing unseen. Winter's grip loosened grudging as January thawed into tentative green. The city exhaling after holiday frenzy. Gabriel's classes resumed, lectures on narrative arcs mirroring their own. Redemption's slow build, love's plot twists. Daniel's cast shed. Rehab yielding a gate almost fluid. The shop buzzing with his return. Crew ribbing gentle over the domestic phase. Evenings found them cooking collaborative. Gabriel's experimental salads clashing with Daniel's meatloaf staples. Laughter seasoning the mishaps. The betrayal's echo faded to whisper. Trusts rebuild a daily devotion. Notes left on dashboards, spontaneous lake walks at dusk, hands clasped against the wind's bite. Gabriel's poetry surged renewed, submissions landing in journals with queer presses, Jar's keeper earning a small prize. Reading in Boystown's cozy venue, spotlights warm on his skin as he voiced lines of fractured light mended. Daniel front row, eyes shining, applause thundering like approval long craved. Backstage, embrace fierce. Voice of us? Daniel murmured, kiss tasting of pride and possibility. The locket swung between them, firefly glinting. A symbol reclaimed, not chained. Spring's renewal mirrored inner shifts. Daniel's family outreach bore fruit. A Milwaukee lunch, Evelyn's table laden, her hand tentative on his. Brought light back to him, she told Gabriel aside, eyes softening. The father nodded gruff over pie. Words sparse but weighty. War takes, but you give. Bridges arched fragile but held. Gabriel's own past beckoned. Texas road trip plotted, not confrontation but reclamation. Firefly fields revisited, shotgun porch passed without halt. Closure's a gift, Daniel said, packing the truck. You deserve to unwrap it. The drive south unfolded healing. Interstates blurring memories. Radio crooning Willie Nelson laments turned anthems. Texas welcomed humid. Cicadas chorusing as they camped near old haunts. Abilene's outskirts, gravel shoulders now soft with nostalgia. Gabriel stood porch vigil at dusk. House weathered but standing. No shotgun shadow. A figure emerged, mother, older, lines etched deep. No words first, just arms opening, sobs shared under the eaves. My boy, she whispered. Father's silhouette distant but present. Forgiveness flowed not total, but enough. Scars acknowledged, not erased. Daniel waited truckside, anchor steady. Their drive home silent with peace. Summer peaked in full bloom. New York's fellowship reinstated for fall. The move a joint venture. U-Haul loaded with crates and dreams. Daniel's VA contacts scouting Brooklyn shops for veteran hires. Last Chicago nights savored, Wrigley fireworks. Green Mill saxophones wailing farewell. Not goodbye. Gabriel toasted over rooftop beers. City sprawl glittering below. Just next chapter. Daniel's grin crooked. With you writing it. The Big Apple swallowed them whole. Brownstone walk-up and Bed-Stuy echoing their Wicker Park start. Radiator clangs. Fire escape vistas now of brownstones and bodegas. Daniel found work quick. Wrenching for a co-op garage catering to artists' beaters. His limp a footnote in the bustle. Gabriel's MFA immersed. Seminars dissecting Baldwin's fire. Peers a mosaic of voices amplifying his own. Evenings, they explored high-line strolls at twilight, dim sum in Chinatown, love's language evolving in the crush. Challenges arose, as cities demand. Daniel's nightmares resurfacing in the subway's roar, therapy zoomed from coffee shops. Gabriel's deadlines loomed, imposter syndrome whispering Texas fraud. But they leaned, group hikes in Prospect Park, journals swapped for mutual verse, Daniel's halting haikus on resilience, Gabriel's epics of home found. Rita visited once, crashing on the couch, her laugh filling voids. You too. Proof loves no myth. Fall semester crested, Gabriel's thesis reading a triumph. Packed room, words weaving their story veiled. Cast out boy, veteran's hand, fireflies freed. Daniel in the crowd, dog tags glinting, tears unashamed. Post-reading, walk home hand in hand, Manhattan's pulse sinking theirs. Rewrote my future, Daniel said soft, under street lamp glow. Gabriel squeezed, locket warm. Hours. Years layered like city sediment. Promotions for Daniel, a book deal for Gabriel, Firefly Highways, memoirs of margins claimed. They adopted a rescue mutt, named Jax in Rye Redemption. Walks a ritual of quiet. Texas reunions annual, Milwaukee barbecues blending families into quilt. Love matured, not flawless but fierce. Arguments aired like laundry, makeup's tender as dawn. On a crisp December eve, 10 years from that park bench fry, they stood fire escape, Brooklyn edition. Mugs steaming, city humming below. Gabriel turned, eyes tracing Daniel's lines, silver threading hair. Survived alone once, he said, voice steady. But with you thrived. Daniel pulled him close, kiss eternal. Kindness was the rewrite. You were the story. In the hush, fireflies danced distant. Impossible in urban night, but real in memory's jar. The world spun on, storms passed, horizon open. They stepped inside, door closing soft on a life rebuilt, human in its hope.